This guy, Bill Mollison, head of the Australian Research Department of The Hitchhiker's Guide to Peace and developer of the theory and practice of permaculture, once said the only ethical decision is to take responsibility for our own existence and that of our children. There's an enormous amount to unpack in that quote, but let's begin with the part where our existence is heavily dependent on the possession, consumption, and sustainability of our food systems. You may be surprised to hear this, but human beings are the only creatures at this time on this planet that are not directly responsible for procurement of their own food on a daily basis. With that, human beings are also debatably the stupidest creatures on the planet, as rather than simply designing their own systems of food production and preservation, they choose to voluntarily enslave themselves to others in order to earn pieces of paper that are redeemable for food-like products. While that's a fairly convenient option in times of need, we do not recommend that you rely on that method in majority, as enslavement, even voluntarily, is very sad. I mentioned human beings are the only creatures that aren't responsible for the procurement of their own food. Some of you may have thought that was untrue, and you would have been correct. Domesticated creatures are also not directly responsible for the procurement of their own food. Domesticated creatures trade companionship, energy, and or their freedom in exchange for food and a place to live. Interesting how many children's movies in which you'll find this theme and comparison. It's okay to be a house pet, young people. Are you listening to us? And another thing, were you spanked as a child? Are you an unbearable douche bitch? Odds are you answered those questions either yes, no, or no, yes. If your answers were the same, you're likely either lying or stupid. And things like discipline and familiarity with the concept of consequences are very important foundational blocks in the mental and metaphysical architecture of a non-douche bitch adult. There is certainly a very obvious line between discipline and abuse, and our experiences have led us to the conclusion that people within the ages of 2 to 6 tend not to be interested in diplomacy or negotiation. Remember, you are not raising children. You have children, you are raising adults. If we'd like to continue existing, at least in part, as human beings and not only as house pets, it's very important we take this opening quote seriously. The only ethical decision is to take responsibility for our own existence and that of our children. Teach them to take responsibility for their own existence. Teach them how to feed themselves without enslaving themselves. Teach them the value of being free. Learn with them and lead by example. Develop your own means of food production, or at least stock a deep pantry and learn how to preserve and take advantage of good times. It's the only ethical decision. Thank you for doing your research with the Hitchhiker's Guide to Peace.